I used to do everything I could to stay dry on backpacking trips. Now, I plunge into rivers on purpose, hike in what's basically a skirt, and the best moments of my year happen mid-storm. For years, I was the guy who would do anything to keep his feet dry. I'd take 20-minute detours upstream looking for a better river crossing. I'd take my shoes and socks off at every creek, ford it barefoot, then sit on a rock and put everything back on before continuing. And I had what I thought was the perfect shoes for the job: Gore-Tex waterproof hiking boots. The problem is, in any kind of serious wet conditions, your feet are probably gonna get wet eventually. A deep crossing, a misstep, hours of pounding rain that finally soaks through, it happens. And once water gets inside a waterproof shoe, well, that's it. The same Gore-Tex that was supposed to keep water out now traps it in. So I'd spend the rest of the day hiking in what felt like wet bricks strapped to my feet, and they'd still be damp the next morning. Eventually, I switched to regular, non-waterproof trail runners, and the whole problem disappeared. They get wet, sure, but they also drain in seconds and dry while I'm hiking. And the trick that made this whole approach actually livable, though, is something I haven't really seen other backpackers do. I don't bring camp shoes anymore. I bring an extra pair of insoles. When I pull out my wet insoles, slide in the dry ones, then put on dry, clean wool socks, the inside of my shoes now feel clean and dry. It's basically the same experience as having dedicated camp shoes without carrying the weight. The next thing that had to go was the pack rain cover. This one took me longer than it should have, because a rain cover seems like the obvious solution to keeping your pack dry. But in practice, mine was actively making trips worse. The problem with a rain cover is the rain doesn't politely stop falling while you need to fish something out of your pack. So I'd be hiking along, it starts raining, and at some point I need to grab a snack or my map or a new layer, and now I have to set my pack down in the mud, peel the cover back, dig around, find what I need, get the cover situated again, and by the time you're done, your pack is half soaked anyways, and your hands are freezing. I was doing this constantly as a beginner because I was always stopping to grab something out of my pack, and the cover just turned every break into a hassle. Then I saw a YouTube video about pack liners, and I figured I'd try it. I bought a 3-pack of Nylofume pack liners about 5 years ago, and I'm still on the first one. The whole system is dead simple. The liner goes inside the pack, and everything that has to stay dry goes inside the liner. Quilt, sleeping bag, clothes bag, my shelter if it's not already wet, any electronics I need protected, everything goes in the liner. Then I just let the outside of my pack get rained on. The pack itself dries in maybe an hour of sun, and the stuff that matters never got wet in the first place. The next swap was rain pants, and I have a feeling some of you are going to have some opinions on this one. I now hike in a rain kilt instead. It's a $15 ultralight kilt I got off Amazon, made by a brand called Cloud Power. Folds down to about the size of an egg, and it lives in my hip belt pocket so I can grab it out without taking my pack off. The second it starts raining, I just whip it out, wrap it around my waist, secure it in about 15 seconds, and keep hiking. The second the rain stops, I yank it off and stuff it back in the pocket. Now, part of why this works for me is that I hike in shorts year round, even in colder weather. So I'm not having to try and keep my pant legs dry. If you hike in long pants, the kilt might not work for you. But for hiking in shorts, compare that to rain pants. To put the rain pants on properly, I had to stop, set my pack down, and try and slide them over my shoes without getting the insides of the legs muddy. Then, once it stopped raining, I'd usually just end up keeping them on for like several hours just to avoid the hassle of taking them off on trail. The kilt skips all of that, and since I'm in shorts anyways, I don't really care if my legs get a little wet. Yes, I know some of you in the comments are going to tell me you'd never be caught dead wearing a kilt, but wear what you want. And if you want to see more clips of me goofing around and hiking in my waterproof skirt, hit subscribe because there'll be plenty more coming. This one's less about gear and more about a mindset shift. For a long time, river crossings were the thing I dreaded most on a trip. I'd stop at the bank, scope out the rocks, look upstream for a log, sometimes spend 15 or 20 minutes scouting before I'd commit to a crossing. And on crossings I couldn't avoid getting wet on, I'd take my pack off, sit down, take my shoes and socks off, ford it barefoot, dry my feet on the other side, and put everything back on. It was a whole production. Every crossing felt like it was costing me time and energy I didn't want to spend. These days, I just walk through. Doesn't matter if the water's ankle deep or knee deep. Doesn't matter if there's a perfectly fine log 10 feet upstream. I don't even slow down. The shoes get wet, the socks get wet, and I keep hiking. For about 10 minutes, I have that squishy sensation because my socks are all wet and it's a little uncomfortable, but then my feet warm up inside the wet shoes and I basically forget about it. Trail runners drain almost immediately, and wool socks insulate even when they're soaked. And by the time you've covered another mile or two, well, you stop noticing. And what's kind of weird is that I actually started to like it. Wading into a cold creek after a long, hot stretch on trail genuinely feels amazing. I'll go out of my way to find a creek crossing now. And in the winter, even when the runoff is freezing, there's something about plunging into ice water that I've kind of come to enjoy. Though I want to be careful with that one. Cold water with no plan to warm up is dangerous, and I've built up to it over a lot of trips. But the thing I used to dread most about a trip is now one of the parts I look forward to the most. The biggest shift, though, is that I stopped seeing rain as something that ruins a trip and started seeing it as the thing that makes one. My friends and family think I'm a little crazy about this. I'll come home from a trip and they'll ask, well, how was the weather? And I'll be a little bummed because it was supposed to rain on day 2 and it didn't. They look at me like I've lost it. But a perfectly clear, sunny, 70-degree weekend is fine. It's pleasant. You hike, you camp, you go home, and a week later, you barely remember it. A trip with weather in it is one that you remember for years. The wind, the rain, the slog through it, the hot drink at the end, that's the texture that makes a trip feel like an actual experience instead of just a nice walk in the woods. The best version of this for me is when a storm rolls in after I'm already at a camp. You're inside your shelter, you're in your quilt or your sleeping bag, you've got a hot drink in your hands, and the rain is hammering down just a few feet from your face. It's strange and peaceful and a little exhilarating all at once. A sunny day can't really give you that. So if there's one thing I take from all this, it's that some of the gear we carry to fight the weather is actually getting in the way of having a real experience out there. The first few times you stop fighting the rain, it feels wrong. But by the 10th or the 20th time, you'll wonder why you spent so many years working so hard against it. And if you want more of the kinds of long-held backpacking habits that turns out to be working against you, check out this next video. It's about a piece of advice I followed for years that I'm now convinced was making my trips worse. And it pairs pretty well with everything we just talked about. So get out there, stop running from the weather, embrace the wet, and I'll see you on the next one.